everyone. It's really great to be part of this session, and we have a wonderful panel here to share with you this afternoon. And yeah, I think what I really wanted to say and to start this off properly is to acknowledge that I'm calling in from Campbell River, located in the traditional territories of the Wewek, the Wewekam, and the Kwayaka speaking people. And if you've never been to Campbell River, it's one of the most beautiful parts of Canada. And I'm really happy to be here. We have a great panel for you today, but before I introduce the panel, let me just say a few words about myself. I've kind of graduated through this whole mining experience from being a consultant, and even though I still have that consultancy as my practice, I'm finding myself on more boards these days. So I sit on the board of the Prospectors and Developers Association of Canada. I also sit on the board of Geoscience BC, and I sit on the board of Kodiak Copper, which is a public company, as well as Common Good Mining, which is a privately owned mining company. So I'm very busy about learning about governance, learning about the roles of Indigenous people in mining today. And I think although we've come really far as a country and across the globe, we still have a long ways to go. And that has been very much part of my learning experience. So with that, I would like each person on the panel to introduce themselves and to talk a little bit about what they're doing in the industry today. So with that, I'll start with Tristan. Tristan, if you would like to introduce yourself, that would be great.
Hi, I'm Tristan Megan. I'm from Martin Falls First Nation, which is a remote community up here in northwestern Ontario. I've come a long way from living in the community to being a cook medic at my job location here at Wyloo. It's been a journey, and I'm happy to be here. And hope you are too.
Thank you, Tristan. And all the way from Australia, Florence.
Good morning. Thank you, Lana, and thank you, Tristan, and hello to everyone on the call today. As a Dara Butiti woman, I acknowledge Wadandi Buja, in which I am joining you all from. So my career in mining has been over the past decade. Started off within a network for Indigenous women in mining all across Australia and globally, and that's where I met the amazing Lana. But now in my current role as Executive Director of the Development Partnership Institute, and that operates globally as well, working very closely with both communities and operators within mining or within the mineral sector, really focused on multi-stakeholder dialogue and deep dialogue as well. So a really great space to learn more and to share knowledge. Thank you, Lana.
Great, thank you, Florence. And last but not least, Alicia.
Hi, my name is Alicia Brink. I'm an artisan educator living in Thunder Bay. I'm a citizen of the Métis Nation of Ontario. My Indigenous ancestry connects me to the Red River settlement area. Right now, I'm the program manager for Embark. It's an Indigenous pre-technology program that roots students both in cultural knowledge of the land around them, as well as bringing in Western science, and build a really good foundation for the students as they further their careers in STEM or STEAM. I'm really glad to be here. Thanks for inviting me.
Thank you, Alicia. Well, thank you to each of you for being here. So maybe I'll start first with Tristan. And Tristan, I know you were introduced to mining opportunities, mineral exploration opportunities a few years ago. But can you talk a little bit about the program that introduced you to all of this?
Yeah, I can do that. So a long time ago, I went to high school in Joplin. I had to leave my community to attend it. And leaving the community was a big task in itself, and it comes with its challenges. But going through my high school career, I stumbled upon a program. Well, she found me, the person that recruited me to this program, and this program changed my life. It set me on a path that I am today, and today I am pursuing a path that allows me to become the best version of myself. And without this program, it's called OYUP Rangers, the OYUP Ranger program through Outland. This program has transformed my life and transformed many other First Nations around across Canada. And I think this program is by far the most important thing that is going on for my people. And I believe that, well, when I took the program, there was 32 spots and thousands of applicants that were competing for these spots. And I believe that everyone should have a shot at this life-changing experience. And I'm very glad that I got mine when it came. And I don't know if I can share this, but I have a little report, a little national report from the program from last year, and I will attempt to do this. Oh no, I can't do it. Telling me the host to save it. But anyways, that is a little bit about the program. It is something I think each and every First Nation community member should have a shot to do. It changed my life, and I believe it can change every one of theirs as well. That's all I really have to say about it at this time.
Thank you, Tristan. And for those of you that don't know or maybe missed it in our introductions, Tristan his home community is Martin Falls, and many of you probably know about the Ring of Fire and the impact that might be having on local communities, both positive and negative. And we read about it in the media, what the reaction so far has been. But maybe, Tristan, you can just talk a little bit about the positivity in all of this in terms of what the future might look like for Indigenous people in Martin Falls.
So, I can't speak for everybody, but from my point of view, just all of the development in the road and everything like that, my people, we're being left behind with everything. The way our communities are set up and the way we live is it's close to third world, and that is unacceptable. But that being said, this mine, this opportunity, everything that I work for here, this is our best chance. This is our best shot, to catch up with the world around us. We're flying in things that cost an arm and a leg, and this road will not just allow us to be connected to the world around us, but it'll give us opportunities to develop our communities in a more modern standpoint. And we struggle as it is to, my community at home, we're still living on wood stoves, and we're still on electric generators and using diesel to power our homes, and and the world around us is thriving, and we're missing out. And I believe that this road and this mine is going to be our chance, our best shot at catching up to the world as the world is leaving us behind. Because the world doesn't wait for no one. And if we're not gonna try, and if we're not gonna put our efforts in to stay with it, then yes, we deserve to be left behind. And I will not accept that. I will fight and push so that my people have the best shot that we can with this mine. And the people that are running this mine, the people that are leading us, these are the people who have helped me through my struggles, who've never quit on me, who've never abandoned me. And they are our best shot at making sure this is done right. And I believe in them as much as they believe in me. And I think this is the greatest thing that's happened to my people, and we have to see it and such. Whatever happens when the road is built, the animals, yes, they're gonna leave. They're gonna leave. They've always left. But look at all the other roads that have been built across the country. All the animals come back, and they will come back when this road is built. They will always come back. And Mother Earth will take back what is hers if we don't maintain that. And I believe we have to we have to put the work in too. It won't be done for us. And that's all I have to say about that one.
Great. Thank you, Tristan, for sharing from your heart. Now I'll turn it back to Alicia. And you talked a bit about the program that you're working at Confederation College. And if you can just maybe go down a little deeper into and talk about the response to the program from Indigenous youth.
The program has been transformative for the youth that I've worked with. So the first year that we did the program, we're going into our third year now, but the first year that we did it, the way that we tried to bring Indigenous knowledge into the classroom, or we did bring Indigenous knowledge into the classroom, was actually by going outside and engaging the youth in culturally significant activities. So we built a birch bark canoe together over the period of 8 months, and watching the students engage in such meaningful, I mean, we had elders present and community members come in. And then after building it, we went out onto the river here on campus and paddled it. So the students, we brought the community in to see the canoe being paddled, and we actually had a drum song being played on the bridge above, so you could feel it echo. The whole experience was, like I said, transformative, but in a big way, in a bigger way than getting a certificate or a degree or a diploma. It was one of those feelings of sustenance and connecting to ancestor and land and to each other. This brought the students, the community, the college community together in a really engaging and beautiful way, because they weren't just learning about knowledge from the ancestors in the land, but they were also learning the science. So it was a really good, I don't think marriage is the right word, but it was a bringing together, I guess, a tapestry, a weaving of all different kinds of ways of knowing.
Thank you for sharing that. That's a really touching story. And now I'll go over to Florence and maybe tell us a little bit more about IMRA. Am I saying that correctly? Just sort of we talk a lot about early engagement and how we, prepare Indigenous youth for the future and how we get involved. But, a lot of what the work, as I understand that IMRA does, is work with Indigenous women who already have careers in mining. So it's kind of a little further down the mining cycle, but, what have been some of the positive impacts in Australia with respect to the organization? And then how do you carry that over to the work that you're doing now?
Yeah, that's a great story to finish up these two wonderful stories from both Tristan and Alicia, and thank you both for sharing. Very touching and very real, and I really appreciate that. And I don't think a lot of people that I now currently work with truly understand our stories as you shared. But definitely with IWIMRA for the Network for Indigenous Women, I myself has been in industry for a while, and so I had to, when we first started the conversation, had to start from what I knew what I knew most, which was being an Indigenous woman in the industry. And for me, we really started to realize what our challenges were, but we really had to focus on what we had in our control to address these challenges. And we did a lot of things around community networking, building our own capacity as well as Indigenous women in the sector, connecting to each other as well, because in Australia at that time, there was only about 1,900 Indigenous women out of a workforce of about 240,000. Now that's spread all over the country. So that's a really small, smidgen of women on different sites who could connect with each other and to feel that cultural safety and to feel like we belonged somewhere. And of course, the conflict between being an Indigenous person in the sector as well, that was a very real thing that we had to face every single day. For myself as a truckie driving down and seeing the earth being extracted, that's pretty tough. But the necessity that both Tristan and Alicia spoke about in terms of survival, in terms of caring for our families, that is very real. And I think going to work and creating that economic opportunity for yourselves and and for myself really helped me to make sure that myself and my family was okay and could participate, and make sure that we weren't left behind, make sure that we were healthy, that we could afford food and health. And I know it's a very basic conversation that we were having, but we still tend to have that, especially in communities which are remote and regional. It's very different to people who live in the city who have a different interpretation of what mining is. How I carry that over now to my work in DPI is ensuring that these deep dialogue spaces are created, and the concept of time within this energy transition between Indigenous peoples' perspective of time and also the corporate entities' perspective of time and project planning, that they're aligned as much as possible, and that is that understanding that dialogue is necessary. So that's definitely what we're addressing. And again, it's not a new problem, but being there at the table so that we're not left behind is definitely one of the things that I'm focused on.
Great, thank you, Florence. So my question turns a little bit, and I want each of you to answer this question. If you talk to certain companies or certain Indigenous people from a community, we feel that the industry has that relationship between industry and community is progressing significantly. And yet when we talk to other communities and industry, they're struggling in terms of figuring out how these partnerships or these relations can grow. And so, here we are, we're three very different Indigenous people, and yet in many ways we might feel caught in between trying to figure this out. So if you were able to advise, let's say, the government or academia or industry on how best to move forward with Indigenous people, in terms of creating local economies, in terms of creating opportunities for training and jobs, in terms of creating opportunities for education, what do you think we need to do better to achieve that? And so maybe I'll start with Florence first, and then I'll move to Alicia and then Tristan.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you, Lana. One of the things when I was leading I realized that we found that funding for us was a problem. When you say we were always told what was good for us, or we never fit into a category of funding. So I think that really challenged us, because we were a network for Indigenous women in mining. We were the people that had challenges to address, and we were actively, we were best positioned to do that because we were trying to solve our own problems, but there was nothing out there that really helped us to really activate that, to bring it to fruition, if that makes sense. I think to speak to government and industry together, I think really working at that policy level to understand and identify the challenges that we face and be informed and to listen, that would really assist us in making sure that there's culturally safe pathways, there's well-supported pathways, and also organic mentoring as well, like community safe mentoring, two-way dialogue, and all those types of things that we could naturally bring to this solution. So I think for me, that's one ask that I would have to both government and industry, is to have a look at the funding bodies or mechanisms or initiatives that they have to activate local community organizations.
Great, thank you. Alicia.
So in working with and talking with Indigenous students in the community, Thunder Bay here in particular, we have a lot of people who are too stressed out just surviving to even want to go to school or training, right? So I honestly think if people had a basic income to begin with, that they could actually relax and start to grow their family, feel safe in that space first, feel like actually even have a home. There's people, we have Tent City here in Thunder Bay where people are living, and in order to feel safe to move forward, I think people need to be able to do that. And then on top of that, speak with the community itself and see what supports that those people need in order to access the services. Like, are they able to get there? Do they have childcare while they're in school? So I know that the college does training within the community, and part of that is speaking with the community and setting up supports so that people can go to the training. And maybe they need extra money, maybe they need supplies. Those things need to be provided so that people are in a safe place to move forward.
Great, thank you, Alicia. Tristan.
In terms of what I'm hearing, I hear what I'm listening to is very awesome. It's great to know that there's people out there that are working towards all that. But for me, I think it's always to ask the government or any kind of people that are in a position of power to go forward on trying to get Indigenous First Nations people into the workforce and into any kind of schooling or anything like that. I think it all starts on a trust between the two, because during what we just finished having this a couple of days ago, which was the truth and reconciliation thing, or whatever it is. You know, I don't believe in that too much, because really the reason I think that my people are not stepping forward and coming forward to show that we can do this is because they do not trust. And there is good reason behind why they do not trust the big bodies that are in front of us. It wasn't so long ago that I was in their shoes as well. And for me to open up and trust everything that I was told not to trust growing up. My people can do whatever we want. I am proof that we can go and achieve whatever we put our mind to. It's just a matter of we don't trust the outside world, and that has to change. The only way we can do that is by walking the path. And just like when we make a trap line, you gotta go bust your trail. You gotta go out there and make your trap line. Nobody's gonna do it for you. And as you go along through life, and just as of my life, I went through everything, and I passed all these different trees. And in each and every tree I passed, there was always somebody willing to help me and help me move along. And I think that's where we have to start, is building a trust foundation between the young people that are growing up and becoming young men and women. We have to build that trust between them and those educational people, or any kind of person who wants to help or wants to do some kind of change. This trust has to be built. And it's not built by, you can go into any community and throw a job fair or whatever they call those things. They're not going to come to that thing because they don't trust you. They don't know what that is. They don't understand what you're trying to tell them. And, I think we need to focus on going there and talking to them. And you got to make them believe that they can do it, because they've been told all their lives that they can't. And I think that's where we need to start. We have to light a fire under them so they can blast off, as I did. I'm going places I never thought I'd ever be able to go. And I believe that each and every one of my people have that same fire inside them. You just have to find a way to light it. And I believe trust between us and them is the main thing, the key component to lighting that fire. And that's all I would have to say today.
Thank you so much, Tristan. You brought up a very valuable topic. Where does it start and how do we do it? And trust is a place to start from. It isn't always easy because there are so many reasons not to trust a group of people or an individual. We can find those reasons readily. And if we're being told by people that we know and believe in, like family or friends, not to trust, it's a really challenging area. So I think it's being able to do as you did, is to find those people along the way, being open, having your heart open to listening to people, listening to their advice, listening to how they can reach out and help you, and trusting that that is possible. I think that is a huge difference maker. So with that, talking about trust, maybe I can get you to comment on that as well, Florence.
Yeah, thank you, Lana. And yeah, definitely with trust, that's what we've seen as well. And we know this, right? Like I said before, this isn't a new problem to unpack. And what I'm really excited about with my role with DPI is really actively creating a map for trust and tools and mechanisms where people can actually use that. Because as much as I know that it's not an old problem, sometimes the people who are in positions don't quite understand the importance of dialogue, the importance of trust. Sometimes that doesn't translate directly into the business bottom line. So I think that education piece and that training piece and that values piece to ensure that we are leading the way and that we're ensuring that, you know, there is a tool here to use to start to build that trust, because sometimes people are scared as well, right? People are scared to fail. People are scared to really show themselves and be vulnerable as well. And so I think really creating a safe space with the company that I'm working with now to bring all these people together to talk a lot more in a safe space, in a culturally safe space, to just really flesh out, okay, well, what's important to me and what does this look like? And we never really give time for dialogue to communicate. And the other part of that as well, and this is me graduating a little bit, Lana, not as much as you throughout industry, but seeing how much technology is impacting the, I guess, the transactive nature of communication now. We don't tend to sit and talk with each other anymore in any social setting, right? It's very fast, right? It's very like really not shallow, but very quick and not deep enough. So I think that's also a challenge for youth in terms of learning or understanding the value of conversation and deep communication. So it's going to be interesting, but I really look forward to working with youth as well into the future with DPI. So yeah, I look forward to continuing this conversation.
Great, thank you, Florence. Alicia, can you comment on trust?
From an institutional standpoint, I don't think that I should comment, but from a teaching and a personal level, it doesn't happen right away. It doesn't happen in the first class. It's not something that you can just stand up there and say, trust me, other people have before, and I expect you to do it as well. It really is a process that happens over multiple sessions. And one of the ways that I build trust is by ensuring that each of the students, the people that I work with, know that I care. I make a point to ask how their kids are, or if something's been happening, I ask them about that. I want to know how they are. I care about the answers. I follow through if they need help. I listen to their I listen to their opinions, their ideas, and I try and action them as much as possible. So when you're talking about big organizations, trust would also mean listening to the communities on that level and seeing some of those things actioned forward, seeing the relationship building, the sharing, you know, even just sharing food and coming together in different ways definitely builds trust. And then if there's any way that people can build something together, that's super trust building as well.
Thank you to each of you sharing about that. I think in previous panels today, trust has been talked about, and I think it's one thing to just to sort of say what it is, but not really. I think we need to share about our experiences so people get ideas on how to build trust. And certainly, Alicia, you talking about, you know, building the canoe, that was tremendous. And I think we just need to start building those relationships around a common objective so that we can see how each person approaches it differently, whether it's someone that has deep ties spiritually to their community and what they believe in. Others who may not be Indigenous are approaching it more as an opportunity to build something. But when we can start to work on those ideas together, solve problems and issues, I think that becomes increasingly important in terms of how we build relationships and how we can begin to trust one another. So I'll just kind of shift a little bit. We were given some questions to address in this particular session, and we know that there are certain things being done by whether it's government, communities, or academia or industry to sort of move this relationship building along. But if you had to say, like, what would the one thing be that could turbocharge this? This must be a real word, but how do we move it along faster to get to where we want to go? And in light of the critical mineral strategy here in Canada to achieve net zero by 2050, part of that getting there is how do we work with Indigenous communities? And I think that is one of the key things that's going to become more apparent as we grow. And governments are willing to say that, we are the best jurisdiction that this can happen in, whether it could be BC or Manitoba, but everyone wants to be at the top to attract investment. But are we really working with Indigenous people? And Florence, that might be a little different for you in Australia, but how can we turbocharge our approach in working with Indigenous people? We've had a discussion about trust and what that might look like and how we can achieve that. But where do we start and how do we do it better? And so I'll ask Alicia first to answer that question.
I think this is a good beginning discussion, and I'm not sure that I'm really glad there's lots of people on the panel because I'm not sure I'm going to have a fulsome answer. But I think that reaching out to the youth and communities is a really good place, not just the youth, but the kids. So like there's whole summers where they stretch out to, bugs and laziness and unorganized play, and all of that is great, and I think it's super important for learning, but there's opportunities for summer camps too. And it would be really cool if there was mining camps that went into the communities and started showing some of the really exciting parts of the mining careers that are available, as well as like in the same way that we built the canoe, but connect to the Indigenous mining practices of the land as well, because like on the Anishinaabe territory there I am in Thunder Bay, we have a really ancient, like I think it's 5,000 to 2,000 year old mining site where the Indigenous people were mining here talcite and copper, and they were making stone tools, and allow the students to also, the youth, to try their hand at making those tools and understanding the cultural significance that relates to the land, to their community, to their history, and then to start to creatively engage in building what that community and future and country looks like going forward.
Great, thank you. That's a great answer. Tristan, what are your thoughts?
Well, again, to turbocharge anything, especially bringing our people into the fold and working more closely towards them. Yeah, you can. I think that again, it's all about. Alicia said it best: just bringing those opportunities and showing them to the young people. Because we can't target people who are the generation that are before me. We can't target them because their minds are set, and there's nothing wrong with that. They grew up in certain circumstances, and it's unfortunate, but the people who we have to target are the young people. You know, we have to make them, show them that they can do it. That is where we have to focus. Whether it's, you know, going into the community, whether it's, you know, going through the OYEP program, I believe that is our best bet, is to get these young people fired up and to show them that they can be anything they want to be. Whether it is in the mining sector, the forestry, you know, whether it's in my kitchen or somebody else's kitchen, you know, we have to expose them to something better than what they're used to seeing. You know, like I said before, it wasn't too long ago I was in their shoes when I was living month to month on some welfare check. That's all I knew, and that's all I thought I was going to be good for the rest of my life. And the only way to get through to them is to show them. And if we want to turbocharge anything, we want to talk about trust. Anybody can talk about trust. Anybody can come to you with a solution without a come to you with a problem without a solution. And your action is the solution. You know, showing your face there, going there, bringing them from their community to the places that they could possibly work. That is a big step. You know, you can bring a 14-year-old, a 15-year-old boy onto a mine site. You know, you can have one of the workers drive by in an excavator, and I can guarantee you that boy is going to be mesmerized by watching that heavy equipment machine drive by. And you, for all you know, you just inspired an operator, a future operator for the mine, because he sees that thing and he wants to drive that thing. You know, he sees those things in little toys. You know, for all you know, that's what you got to do. You got to spark it in their hearts. You know, but everything that you see through your eyes, you know, your heart looks through your eyes. That's how it sees. You know, your heart feels through its touch. It hears through your ears. And I think that is that is where we have to go. You know, the little ones, they're going to see all these things. They're going to fly into camp on a helicopter. For all you know, we already got two future helicopter pilots right there because they want to fly those babies. You know, you got a plane, you know, he might want to fly a full plane. You know, the other guy might want to operate chainsaw. You know, some people might want to come work in the kitchen and serve food. You know, they don't know that because they haven't seen it. I discovered my passion. I didn't know it was going to be cooking. I had to go into a kitchen to find that out. And I think that is where we turbocharge everything, is by going to the youth and showing them things. You know, we can say we're going to go and do this summer or next summer. Maybe we'll do it in 50 years. You know, to me, that's a load of crap. You know, you really want to prove to the First Nations community that you're in it, that you are going to work with them, that you're for them. Do it. Stop talking about it and just do it. Because we're going to need each and every one of those young First Nations members in order for this to work. You know, when this mine blows up and everything gets going, we're going to need them. You know, they're going to need us. Just like on the medicine wheel, there is 4 equal parts, equal divides. There's 4. Every person has an equal part in the circle. And that's something I think we need to apply and not just talk about. And that is all I got.
Thank you, Liam. Florence, did you want to add to the conversation?
I don't think there's a lot more I can add to that, Lana. That was amazing. I'm so inspired by both of their stories and their words. Thank you both really for sharing that. I'm very inspired. But for me, I'd like to add, language is very important. The way that we interpret our understanding of what minerals is, what the agreement is, what the future is, what the value chain is. That's really, really important for us all to understand. And also I believe that education as well, both two-way dialogue. So I think for a very long time we've used it, you know, the power dynamics between Indigenous people being on the underside and then the industry being on the upper side. That's no longer the case. And I think that learning and that shift has to be through language, participation, and dialogue. So I'm very excited to make sure that if we're leading the way through the work that we do now with corporate Australia, not Australia, but the corporate world, it is our responsibility now as the older generation who have been in industry for a while to make sure that we're clearing the way for youth to come through, to make sure that they're supported, to make sure that we're talking to each other, that we're clear and we're all on the same page. So that's really important. So language for me is important.
Great, thank you so much. Well, I just got a text message from one of the organizers, a chat, and she tells me that there's no questions yet that have come forward. So please, if you have a question, I've heard someone else say, start typing now. It would be great to have a question from the audience. But, you know, we can continue this conversation and maybe the question, and I think it's probably been answered as we've had a chance to have a dialogue. In your mind, what has worked and what has not, but maybe focus more on what is working and with an emphasis on what we need to do more of. And I think we have in some ways talked about this already, but if we can have a specific example, perhaps, it doesn't have to be solving the whole world of mining and the relationship with Indigenous people and attracting Indigenous people to work in this particular industry. But in your mind, what do we need to do more of? And I'll start with Alicia.
The program that I work with right now is free. And so it doesn't cost youth any money to come into the program. They don't have to, you know, apply for funding from their band, which is already stretched. They don't, you know, that alleviates a lot of stress while they're going to school. And then the programs that the college runs for mining, it goes into the community. So like Tristan said that he had to leave his community to go to school. That doesn't happen. And that's super important because sometimes that travel is not safe. Sometimes, I mean, you're disconnected from your community. And then I know in Thunder Bay, I mean, sometimes it's really, it's racist, you know? And so not that we want to keep people only in their community, but if they want to be in their community, then to make it so that we go to them with that education and that training, and then not stop the supports. Like Jordan's principle is for all youth, but in the same way, make sure that the college, that industry mining is also making sure that those people have those supports, and not just in a monetary sense, but also in a social sense. Like we need, you know, communities need mental health supports. There's other supports, and I don't know if mines work with communities to do that, but it would be amazing if we could make sure that everybody in those communities has those supports, so that they're in a safe, grounded place to start accessing, to start those discussions, so that the power dynamic is equal.
That's really interesting because I think oftentimes as society, as sort of what Florence referred to as seeing ourselves as on top of things, you know, from an industry standpoint and even a government standpoint, I think we tend to think we know all the issues and we know all the answers to those issues. And here's how we're going to solve it. And here's what we're going to do without really engaging with communities. So I think the engagement piece is really important. And to find out, you know, what are the issues, especially when you talk about social issues, Alicia, you know, how can we work together to address those issues? Or do they even want us to help address those issues? And finding solutions that are workable, I think is a really good way to move forward. It certainly can be intimidating for them to hear from us that these are the answers to all your problems. But it also, if you start to listen, puts you in a place where you're becoming more vulnerable and you're open to learning about the truth before we can even embark on reconciliation and what that might look like. So what does it mean to the community and how do we move forward with the community? Tristan, do you have any comments on that?
Well, again, if I was going to talk about anything that works, I would have to again bring up the OYEP program. A lot of people from my community or any other community out there, they'll have doubts, and I understand those doubts. There's nothing wrong with having doubts, but I am living proof that the OYEP program works. It took me out of my community, put me in a place where I can become the best version of myself. And again, it works. And if I had to say anything to all the young people, all the young First Nations, it's all about your first step. Bravery and courage, the sign of the bear. Think about him. Every step he takes is very calculated. And it's all about your first step, man. Once you get onto the other side, once you take that leap, before you know it, you're gonna see people grabbing you and pulling you and helping you along. I thought I was gonna go into the outside world and not all by myself, and I did. Initially, I did, but then before I knew it, I was being helped along by people I didn't think were ever gonna take a second look. And just take the first step. That's all I have to say. That program changed my life, and it could change yours too. You just have to go with it. That's all I have to say about that one.
Thank you, Tristan. I know yesterday we had a bit of a pre-conference call, and you shared with us how you were brought up to think about the white world, and the teachings from your grandfather, and how that made you think about being out there in the white world. And I'm not saying that you've moved to the white world, but certainly you've began to build your career, learning to trust people in the white world. And maybe you can talk a bit about that.
Well, I can talk about that. For all the young people out there, if you're listening, when I grew up and I was raised and taught to hate the white man because of what happened to our grandfathers and to our parents and to all those before us. I was taught to hate. And still today, I do have the hate in my heart. I'm not going to lie about that. But I fight every day to go against that because of what I see on this side. Every day I walk through the white world myself. I come and I see the bad, but there's good and bad in every tree. But as I go along, I see all the good, all the good people that are out there, and they're not First Nation. They're white, they're another brown, they're black, they're every color that you can think of. And these people, they're kind, they have kindness in their hearts, and that makes me believe that my grandfather was wrong in many ways about believing that all white men were going to do the same thing to us as they did to them. And today I can confidently say that I fight every day because I know that he was wrong. Without all the people that helped me, I wouldn't be where I am today. I'm going to be a chef one day because of these people, and I thank them every day, and I fight hard to show that I appreciate everything they've ever done for me. And they can do the same for you, for any of them. Doesn't matter. We don't have to be, we just have to believe in ourselves. The whole world can believe in you, and that won't mean a damn thing if you don't believe in yourself first. And I think that's where each and every one of us have to come to terms. These people will help us. We just have to take the first step. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you so much for sharing from your heart again. It touches my heart because I know there, as you say, there's lots of good people out there. And I'm very fortunate to have met many of these good people. And one of them, of course, is Raziel, who's brought this conference together because of his son. But you know, it's people like that that make the difference in our lives. So I just want to acknowledge what you said. Florence, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, definitely. There's really beautiful, touching stories there and experiences. And I think, different generations have different experiences as well. Definitely, my parents and my grandparents reflect on different dynamics of their relationships and their perspectives. And certainly I've had those words of wisdom shared with me as I grew. I was lucky enough to be sent to boarding school and had international friends there, and it really broadened my mind and helped me to navigate to who I am as an adult now. And I started off in industry as an operator, and to my position now is incredible. So I think, to the youth out there and to everyone else, it's really around, you're right, that self-belief is key. That self-love is key. There's a lot of things that you have to start healing in the home before you can really step out there with courage and to make sure that you're strong enough. And that's what I really found made a difference to me in progressing through all of these different facets and these different conversations and these different challenges that I was faced with. But yeah, definitely a lot of good people that are out there. Another thing as well that I would raise with IWIMRA brought a lot of learnings around a lot of different women that we have, not only around Australia, but around the globe. We certainly have shared history, and this is to Alicia's point before around the challenges socially that are from systemic challenges that we've had. And it's, in industry, it's not all rainbows and unicorns. There are challenges every day, whether it be racism, whether it be gender inequality, whether it be structural inequality as well with our surrounding community. So certainly am aware of these challenges, but definitely really, with the youth moving forward, I do have a lot of faith that with the access to technology and the access to education, the access to communicate with each other, I really do hope we use those tools to talk about things that matter, certainly with our industry, as we all race towards the energy transition.
Thank you so much for your words. Well, I'm mindful of the time. We're at 1:52, so we have 3 minutes left and no questions. I'm happy with that. So that just leaves time for closing thoughts. If you had to say one thing to the younger generation, what would that be? So I'll start with you, Florence, and then I'll go to Alicia and then Tristan.
Lovely, thank you. My one takeaway would really be to understand the value of dialogue and communication, and to really, take those skills back again, because I don't believe that we're talking enough to each other at a deeper level to truly listen and understand. So that would be my takeaway, to relearn those skills to communicate again.
Thank you, Florence. Alicia.
Thank you for sharing that about communication. It's super important. For young people, for people who are stepping out into their journeys, I think it's really important to follow your curiosity. So if something is interesting, look it up, spend some time on Wikipedia, Google it, talk to your community elders, learn those answers, because you never know where you're going to go with it. It's going to open a whole bunch of doors, and we're really fortunate to not only have those communications with the people around us, but also to have communications with the entire World Wide Web. So everything's out there. And it's kind of exciting. So follow that question as far as you can.
Great, thank you. And Tristan, you get the final comment.
Well, if I had to say anything to any of the young people, when I was in your shoes, nobody told me that I could do it. Nobody believed in me. Nobody said that, you could do whatever you want to do. And all I gotta say for you is that you can do everything you want to do. Listen to your heart. Your heart will guide you every step of the way. Your heart will take you to where you want to go. And I gotta say that I believe in each and every one of you. And like I said before, the world can believe in you. It won't mean a thing. You don't believe in yourself first. Just remember one thing. You can do it. You can be whatever you want to be. And don't let anybody tell you otherwise. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And thank you to each of you today for participating on this panel. And I will turn it back to whatever the next session will be. So thank you.